For November 3rd, 2016 is called to order at 5:34 p.m. Roll call.
Oh, no pledge. Councilman Benton. Present. Councilman Bodier. Councilman Hewitt.
She's coming.
Councilman Johnston.
Present.
Councilman Wheeler.
Here.
Mayor Maselli.
Here.
Police Chief Walker.
Here.
Fire Chief St. Cyr.
Present.
City CPA Linda Lulu.
Here.
And City Clerk Nicole Lee is here.
Thank you
City
very
Attorney
much.
Burris is absent.
Um,
I forgot my cheat sheet. I think I got everybody covered.
Okay, I think he's planning on coming for the later part. We are going into the budget hearing. At this point, I would like to just defer to Ms. Lulu. I think she has some opening remarks.
Thank you. I have just a little bit. I want to start off to say a budget is a tool. It represents our best estimates as to the future outcome for the city.
Can you hear, Judy?
Hello?
You really need to put it right, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll start over.
Perfect.
A budget is a tool. It represents our best estimates as to the future outcome for the city. This is done by fund, by department, by line item for both revenues and expenditures. At the last special budget meeting held on October 20th, Mrs. Hewitt asked, why do we even have to do a budget amendment? The Local Government Budget Act requires a budget amendment to take place when any one of the following four circumstances arise. Number one, the beginning fund balance for a fund fails to meet the original budget's beginning fund balance. This inevitably happens for every fund every year. The projected beginning fund balance is done, just like we are doing it now, near the year end. This is before closing audit entries, let alone taking into account the actual revenues and expenses that had occurred during the year. So technically, every fund needs to have at least one budget amendment each year just to reflect the change in projected beginning fund balance to the actual beginning fund balance. This change is included in the 2016 proposed amendments before you. Number two, the estimated revenues plus other sources of income is deemed to come under budget by 5% or more within a fund. Number three, the estimated expenses plus other uses is deemed to come over budget by 5% or more within a fund. The funds that we have that are affected by this 5% rule are the sales tax fund, due to more monies being received from the parish than anticipated, and the sewer fund, due to $185,000 worth of unforeseen emergency repairs. And number four, a change in operations. Our funds affected as having a change in operations are the sewer fund, due to the increased sewer service charges as required by the DEQ loan, the bond sinking and bond reserve funds, as we refinanced the 2006 bond and paid off the 2007 bond, which allowed these funds to be closed out, the DEQ sinking, reserve, and contingency funds, as these funds were incorrectly never budgeted for in the past. Doing so now would be seen as a change in operations. You will note that the general fund, our largest and most important fund, as this is the city's operating fund, does not fall into any but the first category requiring a budget amendment. That is, the actual beginning fund balance does differ from the budgeted beginning fund balance. The net projected income plus other sources reflects a net increase in income of 1%, and the net projected expenses plus other uses reflects a net decrease of expenses of 2.5%. But besides the LGBA, good fiscal management dictates that a budget be monitored and revised to reflect actualities. The actuality for 2016 is looking great. Our original budget for the general fund projected a net revenue for the year of approximately $71,000, but through increased sales tax collections and decreased expenditures across most departments, current projections of net revenue is $275,000. This results in the city having a deficit balance of only $23,000 at year end. This is virtually nil when compared to the $1.2 million deficit inherited 2 years ago. Since our last meeting 2 weeks ago, there's been a couple of changes to each year's budget, which I had emailed out, but I'll go over here for benefit of the public. Regarding the 2016 proposed amendments, First is the removal of allocated overhead salaries from all departments. As stated previously, we had included allocating overhead salaries out to the departments based upon the advice of our previous auditors. Since we'll be going with a new audit firm for the year ending 2016, we will wait and see if they will require the city to allocate such indirect costs as overhead expenses to the various departments. If they do require this, an emergency budget amendment will be brought forth so that no department will be over budget by an audit adjustment. This budget amendment must be approved prior to the auditors completing and submitting the audit on the June 30th reporting deadline. This change, removing the overhead allocated salaries, does not affect the general fund overall, but it does decrease the expenditures for each department. The remaining changes solely affected the police department. There's an addition of the GOSEP grant expense of $1,424. The revenue account for the same amount was included, but the matching expense was inadvertently excluded. There's an increase to the proposed budget line, vehicles, repairs, and maintenance from $25,500 to $28,800 to reflect actual cost as identified the night of the last council meeting, and increase the proposed budget for the annual leave pay line from $0 to $22,000 to reflect the actual cost plus a $4,000 cushion for the remainder of the year. The net effect of these changes is a projection of $22,907 negative fund balance as opposed to the $517 positive fund balance originally provided. Regarding the 2017 proposed budget, as I just stated for the 2016 revised proposed amendments, the overhead salaries allocation has been removed from all departments for 2017, pending any auditor recommendation to the contrary. The beginning fund balance has changed since the changes to the police department just listed for 2016's revisions had occurred. And the remaining changes relate to the police department as well. The wages and benefits section has increased overall from $1.6 million to $1.7 million. This is due to a promotion of an officer to sergeant yesterday. This promotion increased his annual salary, estimated overtime taxes, and retirement amounts. And a new officer was hired after the creation of the pay calculations for 2017. This person is now included, which again includes the annual salary, estimated overtime taxes, and retirement amounts. This now gives the police department 27 paid personnel plus 2 contracted DEA officers. These changes result in an estimated ending fund balance of a positive $31,628 rather than the positive $124,000 as originally provided. Other than these few changes just enumerated, nothing else has come to my attention concerning these projections, and as the council has not provided me with any questions about anything on either budget, I will close out my presentation with this. If these proposed 2016 amendments are passed, then the 2017 budget is able to include the 1 additional employee for both the police and the fire departments. If the 2016 amendments are not passed, the beginning fund balance for 2017 would revert to the negative $227,000, which will result in an ending deficit balance of $173,000, necessitating decreasing expenditures across the board. Thank you.
May I comment, ma'am? Sure. There was no change in personnel. We had 2 officers leave. One was a sergeant, one was a police officer. We were replaced with 2 police officers. One the officer that was already on the job got promoted as a probationary sergeant. So there's no additional officers. Our payroll has not changed, as you stated it has. It is not. We have the same amount that we had before. 2 left, 2 got hired, 1 got promoted, 1 supervisor left. So there's no additional officers than what we had prior. We had the same complement all year. So you're saying that we added we didn't add a supervisor. 1 resigned. One of the officers that was there got promoted, provisional promotion to sergeant, and then we hired 2 for the 2 vacancies. So there's no additional officers this year. We have the same complement that we had at the beginning of the year.
Right, no, 2016 is the same complement.
But you just said
For
that you had to
2017,
add.
for 2017, the first projection that I'd given out was missing 1 officer because I didn't realize that we were missing a person. So I had to add him back.
But you still going to come up short.
I added him back. I added you an extra person,
Yeah.
and I increased the gentleman's pay to sergeant because I had him down at the officer pay because I didn't realize he had been promoted.
He's got a promotion, a provisional promotion.
Right.
And my second question, or any other monies taken out of the police department's budget from 2016 of this proposal.
Hold on. Total expenditures, we were decreasing by about $68,000 for 2016. Most of that was $20,000 for the annual leave pay. We had it at $42,000. Overtime pay, the previous accountant had a cushion in there. We're not going to need the $63,000 that was originally budgeted. So I took $13,000 out there.
What I don't understand is how you all can do a projection on our budget when we can't get accurate figures to keep up to know where we are on a monthly basis, and y'all projecting, the administration's estimating out that at the end of this year, I'm not gonna need that money. The last 2 years, in 14 and 15, when the audits come out, I'm over budget, but prior to the audit figures I show, I'm under budget. Now you wanna take 60-something, before it was 90-something thousand dollars you wanted to remove out of the 16 budget from the police department, and I'm against it. I'm
And
gonna get dinged again this year.
And the remaining change is $68,000 coming out of the insurance expense, the general liability insurance, which is because when we booked the original budget for 2016, we did the insurance, the auditor way of allocating it based on everybody's expenditures, which the police department has the
And
votes.
before then, you all stuck me with the insurance without giving me the revenue. I mean, y'all can't have it both
I
ways. I'm sorry.
I brought an amendment forth to give you the revenue to
Yeah,
match
okay,
the expenses,
yeah,
and it was not
understand.
seconded.
Okay.
I did try.
Well, again, I'll make the statement again. I prefer that no monies be taken out of the Arion Police Department's 2016 operating budget to the year's end and see where we at. We just, last month, had 4 cars, transmissions went out.
Well, at the very least, the insurance expense should go down because we know the 101,000 was based upon postal wait's crazy allocation as opposed to the actual physical copies of what I
And we
know your
put that
expenses
in,
are.
correct?
Yeah, that's in here. So I mean, at the very least, that line should
I'm
not be
opposed
changed.
to it. Because I don't know where I'm gonna be at with the rest of my budget for the year. We got 2 months left.
Any other comments?
I totally agree, Chief. Linda, these figures, are these as of October 1st? Because I know we're November, so I know there was a cutoff. I know last meeting we were talking about that it would still almost be like in the last quarter, so oh, I'm so sorry. So these amendments, is it better? So these amendments that you're proposing, was the cutoff date September 30th? Is that the run sheet that you stopped with?
Yes, although, I mean, some things have come to my attention, and I went and I looked to see how they were doing when the invoices came through, and we were still good.
Well, because I mean, I can sympathize with the chief in any department, is that you're taking it away without not knowing what's, that the next 3 months are going to bring. And I know we mentioned that, and you said, well, then we'll just go amend it and put it back. Well, why take it away at all? Let's just finish it out and see where we are and then amend it at that time.
Well, we're trying to do 2017 budget, too, so right now, it looks like our
Well, how
numbers...
can you project 2017 if you don't know what 2016 is?
You can't wait till year end and the audit being closed before you project 2017's numbers. It's required
Because
by
the
law
law-
to be done by December.
I thought we had till like June 30th or something for the
Yeah,
following year.
you have
And
till
that's what happened
December.
last year.
We did it last year,
During the
June
audit,
30th.
When they put the extra insurance.
No.
You have till December, that's when the state actually says you're
Let
supposed
me-
to have it in by,
And I'm-
but
what's
they
that
give
called?
you a leeway or something like that up until June, 6 months.
And I think that's what we
But-
did last year, if I'm not mistaken. It was like June or something.
But by
By law,
state, you're really supposed to have it
You're
in by
supposed to have it
December.
in by, was it December
It is
15th, I believe?
It is a finding if you don't pass a budget before December 31st, for one thing. Then the books officially on the prior year. So 16's books will not be closed until June 30th of 17. So what that entitles is to have year-end closeout, do all the year-end journal entries, month-end journal entries, work with the auditor, and then before, if the auditor then deems we need to allocate certain things and move certain monies, then what...
I just don't see why, just let everything stay as the status quo, finish out the year, and then let's see where we are.
And there's some other issues with that, I believe, is
We have some
About
operational changes.
Deficit spending, deficit,
I'll tell you what it is, it's a money grab. I mean, I've had a conversation with the mayor. If I've got money left over in 16 towards the end of the year, do I plan on spending it? Yes, I do, for needed equipment for the department. And the mayor thinks it should go back into the general fund.
I'd like to give a handout. Do you have a copy? Do you have copies of this?
Sue does.
Sue, do you have copies of the graph?
I don't think so.
Do we have copies of that?
Sue hasn't.
I do? I don't see that.
Yeah, as I stated in my email earlier, I'm in agreement with you.
If we don't pass the budget by year end, we're also working at a
When you're
half.
saying pass the budget, you're talking about 2017?
2017.
Okay.
So if we're trying to work on 2017's budget, we need to know what's going on for 2016.
Yes. Do we have copies?
But 2017's budget, if we don't pass it by year end, we're into we can only spend up to half of the, 50%.
Right, the projected
and then
first
we're-
6 months run over.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Right,
I know
and
that's what we've
sometimes
done
that
before.
causes problems,
Wait,
you know.
let's talk one at a time so that the record
Everybody
could
already
be.
has that, if I'm
No,
not
this is
mistaken.
something.
This is something brand new?
Where did this come from?
Yeah, this must have been something they did after
Okay.
afterwards. I don't have any of that.
No, who did this?
That's fine.
The staff did. And we just finished it, so we're going to just go over what we have right now.
Does anybody else want copies?
Did you get a copy?
Why would
Oh,
this
I'm
not have been
sorry.
provided to us?
Because we just finished, like minutes ago.
Well, this isn't about the police, but I could talk about something else also.
Well, can we finish with this?
Sure.
Because I want to.
No problem.
Did you get?
I didn't.
Okay.
Join the club.
And
Thank you.
I'd like this clarified by, if the record would now show Tim Bodier is in. Do you have a copy?
Tracy, you want a copy of this?
This is just a chart to, sometimes a picture and things put side by side help put things in perspective. Chief, like you, when we came into office, we adopted a very dismal situation.
Okay.
And we knew that we were going to be working very hard, short-staffed, and not be able to give a lot of extras to our departments and people. And I commend you, your staff. I commend Chief St. Cyr and his staff and all the staff in City Hall. But I want to make it clear, by no means do I want to support our first responders for the city full-heartedly. I want to provide the safety to the citizens that they deserve. And at the end of the day, we have a pie that we have to divvy up and make sure that everybody gets what they need and give the information that people need. So this is a way of providing a chart, and I'll put it on the website, talking about the percentage per department of expenses. So for example, if you look across the line for the police, in 2013, it says total expenses and percent of the total expenses for the entire city was 31.13. So 31%. Okay, so then we get to 2015, even though everyone worked really, really short and tight, the budget is at 33.31%, a third of the budget. And from what I understand nationally, from looking at different reports, et cetera, it's a place to really kind of aim for, but I'm not the expert, I don't profess. With the budget amendment, if we should pass what our CPA has put together, and it is, the police budget is at 35.28. Without, I just figured this out. If we do not pass the amendment as is, the police budget will represent 35.46% of the budget. And in 17, if we put forth the budget that the mayor plans on presenting, I plan on presenting, it's 35.35 of the budget, as opposed to the Chief Walker is asking for 36.62% of the budget. And what that does is, it tells us basically how much we're allocating. And then if you compare it to the fire in 13, they were 18.09% of the budget, and they still, by the proposed budget for 17, only represent, they've gone down to 16.76% of the expenses on the budget. And that doesn't even count, looking at everyone else's, numbers over the place. So I'm not here to decide what the council will decide on. I'm trying to put forth numbers, give people information, so you can make the decisions we need to make. Because we've got first responders in the fire department, first responders in the police department, and different things we have to do, and we're trying to give more information.
Mayor, I haven't spoke yet. in
Please do.
These two budget hearings, I'd like to just say a little something. We have
Can you
met-
hear him, Miss Judy? Because he's not using them. Thank you.
We have met a number of times about our budget. We've met with you, we've met with Linda, you've met with my entire department regarding our budget and what our needs are for the future. And, I have not presented a budget myself this year, which is unusual. Usually every year I put forth a budget, and I ultimately ask for about 2.1 million, which we know is well above what we could really anticipate getting out of the pie that we have now for the city. And I have not presented a budget because we have our plans on a much more comprehensive fix for our department. We understand that you cannot fix our department with what the city has now. And we've been looking at the budget. We've seen, we've gone up a little, we've gone down a little, all in the spirit of cooperation with our budget deficit, or, whatever's been going on, whether it was sewage issues or whatever, we've tried to cooperate.
And I'm
and
just
we're
going to
gonna
interject
continue.
and say thank you.
Yeah, we're going to continue to try to cooperate, but we also have to do something. As I sat at the podium and said some months ago, we have to find a real fix for the fire department. A real fix cannot be found within the numbers that we have now. We have to do something real, and we have to do something very real, not just a patch, not just getting halfway there. We have to at least put our full efforts into a comprehensive full fix. Just to let you know.
I was so
if
impressed by
you're-
your staff.
If you're wondering about my lack of participation in this year's budget hearings, which is unusual because usually I have a lot to say,
Right.
it's because we do have our eye on a much larger plan. We have put together a committee. We have 6 individuals that are going to meet regularly to work out the future of the department and what we feel it should be. And, we're going back and forth. How much should that be? How much shouldn't it be? I mean, we're going over numbers. We've invited Ms. Linda to come and sit with us in a week or so to go over to help us with salaries. But we have to look at a plan that secures our equipment. I can't put air tanks on guys that are out of date or old or shouldn't be on a truck. And nor should I have to come to this council and beg, borrow, and steal on a regular basis to get that as well. We had a plan in place 20 years ago when we got 5 mills passed and asked for 15. We were behind the ball when that first 5 mills got passed. But with that 5, we made the most of what we could do with it, both with employees and equipment. But because of the situation of the city, we've seen that fund deteriorate. We had money that was in lease and lease interest payments that just got swallowed up by the city's deficits. And that money should be there. We should be able to plan on having that money. A comprehensive plan that can show this department 20 years from now is what we need and where we need to be. And we're going to work on that. We're going to put it together. We're going to come back. We're going to ask for your support. You're going to probably look at us like we're crazy because of what we're going to ask for. And I'm going to tell you that we need to move forward with that. We're going to invite y'all in a few weeks. Hopefully, I've already spoke to Councilman Wheeler. Hopefully, we'll be able to use her house. We're going to invite you out to her house. We're going to put on a little display for y'all. We're going to show you what it's like to be all alone when a house is on fire with just 2 or 3 people.
He's not setting my house on fire.
No demonstration.
Wait, I didn't.
Oh, you did say that, Todd.
Did I tell you that we weren't? All right, well, we'll stick to that. Can we?
No.
Okay, well, in that case,
it's
we won't
covered.
set our house on fire, but it's very disappointing. We'd appreciate your cooperation
There
a
you
little
go.
more with this. But anyway, we want to show y'all what it's like to be all alone, and that's kind of what we are right now. We're all alone. And when we have to face an apartment fire and there's flames burning out the front door and out the back door and there's only 2 or 3 of us, we're all alone. Not only we alone, but the people that are in that building are alone. And just because we show up, things don't get any better for them anytime soon. So we're going to go through all this. We're going to talk about NFPA 1710. We're going to talk about where we need to be, what it takes to get there. The community may think we're nuts too, but we have to present real facts to them, real issues. This is what it takes. If it doesn't pass, if we can't get y'all to pass, if we can't get it past you, well, then we're just doomed. If we can get it past you and we can get your support and we can get the citizen support and it doesn't pass, well, then we have to regroup and see what we can do, but at least we let the people know where we were.
You're
and
trying
what
to
we needed
self-fund your
do.
department.
We're trying to self-fund our department. We shouldn't have to come every year and beg, borrow, and steal. We should have a plan laid out that this is how it goes. The money
Right.
comes to the department, and as long as I'm doing my job and what I'm supposed to do, I'm telling you, if the people listen to me and y'all buy into what we put together, we won't just have a class, we will lose our rating. We won't just have a class 2 fire
And what does that
department. We'll be a
mean
class
so that
1.
you can say it's going to cost the citizens in their pocketbook?
It is gonna cost
And
the
it's an
citizens.
embarrassment to the city, and our firefighters do not want that to happen. I've seen them, I've talked to them, they have pride in what they do.
Sure, absolutely,
and
because they work hard for what they do.
Right. And I've got to tell you, I've been very proud to walk alongside our firefighters when they went to renew the millage. They went and asked the people for what they needed, and they go after it. And
This next
y'all are
campaign is going to be a lot
harder,
the same.
higher steep.
It's going to be a lot the same, although we're going to meet more resistance at the doors because of what we're asking for, and we can accept that. That's fine. We at least have to get our plan in the people's hands, and hopefully they read it. Hopefully they look at it. Hopefully they believe the citizens that we have involved, because we're going to sell them first. Hopefully they believe those citizens, and we have some little soldiers that go out and work for us. If it passes, it passes. Great for this community. If it doesn't, then we'll have to regroup and see what smaller scale package we can put together. But we have to do something to make it safer for us and safer for the citizens, because right now the citizens are not as safe as they should be.
Because right now, we have to find a way to grow the pie so that
And I think that that's our responsibility to go out there and do that. I've asked, I can tell you over the years, this isn't the first time I've asked councils to please hear us, let us put a comprehensive package together and bring it before you and bring it to the people where, I get it. No council wants to ask the citizens for more money because you feel like it's, they have felt like, well, that's a reflection on them. But when you compare, how do you expect fire service to be the same in Harahan as it is in Jefferson Parish when someone in Jefferson Parish pays $350 for fire protection a year and someone in Harahan pays $60 a year? You're not going to have the same protection. There's no way. You can't expect it. We don't have the benefit of having the Clearview corridor or the Veterans Highway corridor where those millages rake in a ton of money. We don't have that. We're a bedroom community, and unfortunately, we have to ask our citizens. But the citizens in River Ridge, and actually, there's going to be an election for them. I think in April, the parish is going to the citizens of River Ridge and asking their people for 25 mills. And East Bank Consolidated Fire Department may take over that department because The whole volunteer thing is rough these days. You know, it's another volunteer company going by the wayside. So that's part of unincorporated Jefferson Parish, so it's their responsibility to do something. They're gonna go to those people and ask them for 25 mils and provide a full-blown paid fire department for them. But that's what it takes. Those people over there are doing the same thing. They're paying $300 a year, plus a service charge that they get on their water bill every other month. Anyway, so look for that from us. This budget hearing, we're just gonna sit back and kind of know that, you know, our fix is not within this pie. Whatever you can do, you know, the mayor has committed to get one of our employees back this year and then review later on in the year whether the city has the funds to put that second person that we're short back on to get to the level where at least we were. And in the meantime, we'll be putting something comprehensive.
I think
We're going to invite each one of you to come and sit down and talk with us, one-on-one or two at a time at the firehouse. So that
Next
we
time
can
I'm
show
staying
you
for
what we're
dinner,
doing.
though.
Yeah, we eat good. Hey, I didn't go from 200 pounds to 270 for nothing.
Todd, let me ask you just one question real
Yes.
quick. You mentioned something about that the mayor was proposing to give y'all another employee in your department, and you and I had
Yes.
talked about this because I was looking at the proposed figures for 2017 in your department, which I know we just got recently, and it's actually a reduction in your salary line compared to the salary sheet that I had.
Right. We had money in salaries last year. We actually, had we acted early on in the year, we could have employed another person last year. What happened was we were dealing with the consent decree from the Department of Justice. And so we were a little reluctant to just delve in and hire someone not knowing what was going on with that situation. Our city attorney has addressed that. He's worked with us and gotten our answers for that. I still want to, even before we hire again, I still want to have another conversation with our city attorney.
I just don't see where the funds are, Todd, to be honest with you.
What I'm saying is,
I mean, unless
and
I'm-
what I was getting to
Okay.
is I haven't looked at that number to know. I'm going based on what Ms. Linda has put together. And so I don't know. I haven't looked at her figures to see, and I haven't put numbers together myself this year to see exactly what that, it would be the 11th firefighter, 13th employee, yes, would cost and where our numbers even need to be. So I can't answer that. Maybe Ms. Linda can.
I think she's looking at her
You know, we do know that
computer.
if we employ one person, it will reduce
Overtime.
overtime to some extent. We will still have it.
Well, and I do see that. I do see that the overtime line decreased about 11,000,
We will still have some
Excuse me, about
overtime because we
9,000.
do have that third shift that will
11,
still be a man down. So, you know, we'd only have 2 full shifts. So we
Right,
would
by,
still,
by increasing the personnel number,
It
logically, it
decreases,
decreases
yes.
your overtime.
yes. And we were working actually on
And Todd, didn't you say it's about 30,000, give or take, to fully pay an
50.
employee? 50, okay.
50
Well, if you
handles.
take the difference
health-
between
I
your
mean, that- look,
salary
that
line and your
includes-
unemployment,
Now,
overtime line.
well, the 50,000, you got to realize is you're not going to fully see that in salaries because that includes insurance, health insurance. That 50,000 includes salary adjustment. It includes all the other payroll expenses that go with it. So you're not going to fully see. It's not going to be 50 in salary.
And I understand that, but all the other lines are decreased too.
Right.
Yeah, I see that.
Right. And I haven't again I haven't looked at that today, but to see I know you brought it to my attention.
Well, yeah, because if the salary line's down, yes, overtime down, overtime line is down, it's like everything's down.
Right.
I just, it's something.
I'm relying on Ms. Lulu, who's crunching these numbers for us. And we actually have, like I said, we have a meeting with her because I need to better understand.
Right, sure.
Because of the comprehensive package we're putting together, I can't bring you false numbers.
Sure.
When I come to sit down with you with numbers, I need to know very well that we've put this together properly. So she's going to help us understand where the numbers are now. I have old numbers for payroll expenses. I just don't have this year's numbers for payroll expenses. So how we're going to accomplish that with what's there, I can't answer that for you, Councilman Wheeler.
And part of
We'll
it-
find the answer.
And the other, you know, what's interesting in looking at some of these numbers, which makes it difficult, is we all have moving targets. Madam Clerk, if you would recognize Ms. Hewitt is here, there are a number of changes that we've done, like the insurance plan is has caused a certain amount of savings. So it brought down the wage line, potentially the wage line for 15.
Well, and I know that we're gonna spend less in, we are gonna spend less because the percentage has gone down on retirement, on the match. So that's gonna reduce a little. But how it
And
is
if we
there,
get-
unless we were over budget and weren't gonna ever spend, Carrie? Unless at some point we would have been over budget and we weren't gonna spend that entire amount, and now it's been reduced to match exactly what the costs are, which is a possibility. You gotta realize, at one time, we had these other two people built in our budget. In 2014, I don't know that it was reduced the full amount of an employee, we just weren't allowed to rehire in 14. In 15, I don't know that even the accountant understood how the department worked and what it cost to employ a person. You know what I'm saying? When Robert took over, he was getting there. He was probably at that point at the end because Robert was trying to find a way for us to get employees as well.
Right.
But I think we might have had more money in our budget than we even needed for the people that we had. So if you're seeing that reduction now, it may be to match what it actually cost, or closer to what it actually cost.
No, I understand what you just proposed.
What's that?
Robert had plugs for both
Right,
the police
that's the
and the
difference.
fire department
Hold
because
on.
he didn't understand.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Explain
I
what
apologize.
we had, because there were some cushions built
Right.
in.
Robert had listed for the fire department coming into 2016, 12 people plus, and he labeled a line, unallocated expenses, and it was like another person's salary. It was a full salary with benefits and everything all the way across the line, because I don't think he understood fully how it was working, and he did the same thing.
No, I think
money
that was the
there.
person that you
money
can
was
hire
there
somebody
that we just
else.
weren't allowed to hire.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, here's the thing.
You didn't hire. I didn't tell you.
We didn't. No, well, I'm being honest with you. At the time, we were more concerned with the consent decree than anything. We had the Department of Justice telling us to do certain things or else. I mean, I can tell you, I was a bit intimidated by that. We had no attorney to help at the time. I had no one to get answers from. But I can tell you, if you go back to 2011, 2010, our budgets would have ran a lot closer because I used to put those numbers, and then they'd give us an overall number and say, okay, how do you want to spend it, Chief? And I would closely put that money. I didn't
Right.
pad that, and I think that's what happened. Is it was more padded for
With the intention to get somebody
To-
else
to
in
get
there, right?
someone else,
Sure.
yes.
Okay, go ahead, Linda. I'm sorry.
That's all I had to
So
say.
really, you're
There's-
just gonna get one new person?
yes.
I wish we could give,
And that pad was for 2 people?
No,
Well,
the
that
the
would
pad
be-
was just
that
one.
was just
So-
that was one person that was in there. Okay.
But you didn't use.
So how are we having a reduction?
Well, yeah, Linda, can you explain the proposed?
This reduction in personnel started for us in 2014.
No,
No, I'm talking about in
Oh, in the dollar amount.
in the dollar amount between your budget of 16 was 352,000 in salary. 17 is 335,000.
Right.
That's a decrease. Now granted, so if I don't understand if there's the intention to hire somebody new for you, I just don't see where that money is in here. Because salaries are reduced, overtime is reduced. Well, I can see overtime being reduced if your salaries were up.
Right.
Like you said, to hire somebody.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. And then it just continues to go down thereafter from, group hospitalization, the fireman, retirement and
Right.
stuff like that. And I can understand that, but if you're saying it's there to get, I don't see it. Linda, can you help
Well,
me
I
understand?
did not decrease the salaries for anybody for 2016. I left the cushion in.
No, I'm
That's
looking at
why.
your proposal for 17.
Yeah, but if you look, why did 17 go down as opposed to 16? I left the cushion in for 16. Robert had a cushion in 15. I left the cushion in for 16. I still left it in for 16.
But now
for
it went back to
17,
real.
I got rid of the cushion and put reality in.
But that cushion was just one person, which should still be reflected in the numbers. Because if you reduce from the cushion that was supposed to
Then
be
there
one
is no cushion
person,
for him to
That's
hi-
right, it should stay.
I don't
It
know.
should stay, right,
Yeah,
it should not be
seems like it should
reduced.
stay the same, it does.
I went off of what
No.
the HR gave me. I mean, I don't
I
know.
will put those numbers together for you of what I know.
And that's what we're here for, to
Right.
discuss these things, and I
will
called
put
you
to
today
make
about it,
sure
because
that
I was.
these numbers match, and we'll sit down and go over that to make sure, because what I need is salary numbers today, with longevity and all the payroll expenses, to make sure that the right money is in salaries, the right number is in salary adjustment.
And that's what I do.
And
Overtime is almost a guess.
when are you looking at getting together and putting this together for us?
Yeah, y'all said next week y'all are meeting, is that what I heard you say? I'm sorry.
Linda and I are going to meet on the 10th.
15th, we just said 15th.
15th? Is that what you?
on the 10th.
We have a meeting on the 10th to approve, and we have to meet with people beforehand on everything.
I'm sorry, the 15th, at 10 o'clock. That's what it is. We're
So if y'all meeting on the 15th at 10
We'll have to
We're
put
gonna
this
have to-
together before, then we'll have to find time.
We'll
to
have
get
to be on the
together.
weekend or something,
That's fine.
or night.
We'll have to get together before then. Before this meeting, I had asked.
Sure.
to meet
Yeah.
with
No,
Linda,
I understand.
and the
Okay.
15th was what we came up with.
I have a couple other questions.
Yeah, we need to get back to.
How much you are suggesting you're gonna remove from 16 budget for police department? Was it 60-something
It
thousand?
is 60-something, yeah.
Do you know exact figure?
I forget, we had that somewhere.
Six-
78?
I got 68,480. What are you looking at?
What?
68,480 is the decrease in total expenditures.
Oh, okay, I don't know if that was something.
But originally you said y'all wanted to reduce it by 90-something thousand. Well, first it was 109, and then it went to 90.
I don't,
After the last council meeting,
Oh.
and you stated what actual bills there were, we adjusted,
Yeah,
which
the twen-
we
the-
sent in an email
Now
to.
you're saying it's 68,
Right,
480.
And then,
And then you said before the deficit was down at the end of this year to 23,000.
With it,
with decreasing you by the
So I'll
68,000,
tell you what
along with
water
everybody
deficit.
else. Well, everybody,
everybody gets paid out of the general fund except for things like the sewer fund, et cetera.
So then the deficit would be removed for
no,
2017.
for 2016, the deficit would be down to $23,000. For
With
20.
those changes.
With those changes. For
With
2017,
the 68,000,
Well, maybe that was supposed to
come
be
from
given out.
police, reduce it down to 23,000.
Right.
negative. For 2017, we would have a positive 32,000.
And then by the legislative auditor, they've told us in writing and here that once that deficit unburdens you, the chief, myself, everyone, we can be not free to spend just anything, but we are freer to start growing what we spend and
But you
divvying
mentioned
out.
before, once the deficit was paid, we could have 2 additional police officers.
Are you passing this out to everybody?
I never promised,
Okay.
to my knowledge, because I have to, what I said always is, we didn't get in the hole overnight. You know, Chief Sancier, right? I think everybody knows that if you look at,
We're better in the hole since I've been here. So
but we didn't get there overnight.
the hole.
We've made great strides on the blood, sweat, and tears of the people who work for the city of Harahan, and I am impressed at everyone's service and commitment. What we move toward is, Chief, what I did say is,
you.
you've always said you need 2 officers. Chief St. Cyr, it's about stepping everyone up. Where is the most emergent? First responders are emergent. We didn't get there overnight. We're not fixing it overnight, but we're fixing it a lot quicker than the financial problems occurred. I wish we could have done it in 1 year. But the other good news is and I met with the firefighters just recently. Now that the budget is an estimate, and we're supposed to be doing budget amendments as we go along. We're supposed to try and, Linda did an amazing job. You were within your estimate in the beginning of 16. You come in January 20th, I think, right? And you put together the budget. It passed in May, and you were within 2%,
Right.
which is almost unheard of, is what she realized. Then we come in, we do budget amendments, and we reassess as we go along. And this is where we talk to everyone. Chief, Chief St. Cyr, I told your men, this is when you weigh for morale, for necessity, for life. Is it more important to give a little bit of a pay increase and wait a little bit longer for that second firefighter to come on? Or is it better for the firefighter to come on and then look down the road for pay increases? Same thing with our,
I wasn't there, but I know what they would have said.
I know what they said. So I trust Chief Walker with everything. I believe when you tell me you need 2 officers, I believe it. When Chief St. Cyr says he needs 2 firefighters, I wholeheartedly believe it. How do we get there? How fast we get there? I'm trying to just, with our professional staff, give you the numbers so the council can make those decisions. That's what we put before you. That's where we go. And there's a lot of other issues that we have to tackle financially. We have, just as the employees of the fire and police, I would love to see pay raises. The city hall, city staff, the rest of the city staff have had no raises. They get no retirement, nothing. We have to address our drainage issues. We have to address more issues as we move forward. So we want everything.
Can I go over something with Ms. Lulu?
Sure. Do you want to have a recess?
1 second.
Okay.
This is what you sent us on the 16th. Are these figures still good that you wanted to take out of our budget? With the exception here, you were going 20 rather than, because of the people that left. That's what you sent us on Sunday after we met.
this one.
You gave her a hard math problem.
No, I'm just showing her
some-
figures that
This was in my
y'all sent me.
packet.
No, I know. She's just trying to compare.
Well, some of these, you've got like the deducted amount, and then you have like the wrong ending amount.
Can you maybe bring the public up to speed at what you're looking at, Ms. Lulu?
Figures that y'all had sent us.
I know, but I think for the public's sake, if she would explain,
Well, she's trying to review to make sure that they're correct.
Oh, that says budget analysis. It must be on this page, substitutes.
Counting. Is this column the amount added, not the ending amount?
The one that y'all wanted, that's what you wanted to take out and go to the next
Right,
page.
but what about the ones that we were adding back? Because there were
Go back
increases.
to
Because there were
the next
increases.
page. And what y'all had was 100. You only had 38.
Okay, so this column is this is what we're amount
Added,
added.
right.
I thought this was the ending amount. I'm sorry.
Added. Take it up and put added there.
Oh, all right, well, hold on, let me redo my little check marks, because I didn't understand your columns with the, yeah. All right, try that again.
Matt, you just want to take a quick recess? I think
can we-
it's-
I'm just going to call for a 5-minute recess so that, thank you.
But then,
We are now resuming.
One thing that I just learned, and when they say I'm 35% or 36% of the budget, some grant money that's not reoccurring that we get each year, that's included in these figures. That's not money that's come from the city. For example, we get $1,000 each year for Walmart for Christmas for the needy. That's in my operating budget. So that's part of that 35%. It makes it look like I have more money to spend, but this is money that's not coming from the city. This is from outside sources. So it inflates the figure. So this figure, when you say, I've got a 35.46% current budget, that's really not realistic. That's not what I'm receiving from the city.
But it's what you spent. It's what your department spent.
But it's not coming from the city.
It
You're
doesn't
saying I'm
matter.
30.
It does
matter.
what
Yeah,
you
it does.
spent.
It's grant money that we get from other
expenses.
sources.
The
It has
other
nothing to do with
department,
city.
the other departments have grant monies in there as well.
It's not money, you make it sound like there's 35% of the city budget that I'm taking. I'm not taking 35%. When I get grant money for
Oh, I
overtime,
see
that's
what
not
you're
part
saying.
of,
I do see what
you
you're
follow me?
saying. Yes, I do see.
It's not city money. So that
For-
inflates that figure to make it look I'm taking a bigger percentage
For
of the city
26
budget than I am, but I'm not.
For 2016, you received $19,000 thus far for grant expenses. For 2015, it was $58,000.
Which was not put back into my account, and same as 14. And that's why I was over budget in 14 and 15 apparently. You understand?
I don't know.
We
what
get
he's
grant
speaking
money for overtime, whether it's for...
into the mic?
We get grant money for overtime occasionally. It could be for highway safety, dealing with seatbelts, DWI enforcement, sometimes drug enforcement. We'll work the overtime. We pay the officers out of the city police department operating overtime budget. At the end of the year, or when the end of that cycle, we submit our payroll records that, for the officers that work the overtime, documented, send it to the source where we got the grant from. They reimburse us in the following year. So in 15, we submitted at the end of the year when all the overtime that we used. We might not have used all the overtime was allocated to it. We have to justify it. In 16, they'll send a check to the city to reimburse us. They're not putting that money back into my operating budget in 15 like they're supposed to. They're
Yes, I
required to
did.
by law.
Yes,
That's one
I
of the
did.
things. That's one of the reasons why I was over budget in 14. I have one grant that came back at 4,000. If you look at on 14, I was, by audit standards, I was $1,500 over budget. If that one grant was applied to my 14 budget, I'd have been at least $2,500 under budget. And I don't know what happened. I'm just getting the figures today on 15. Like I said, I got zapped where we're $55,000 over budget.
It should have been journal entry back in the past. I did see one entry that should have happened in 14 and didn't. In 15, I made darn good sure that I went after that money and accrued for it, put it as a revenue, and then when the check came in, it goes against the accrual on the balance sheet because you already got the revenue last year per books. So the revenues and the expenses always match on the books, which is why I made sure we have individual line items that match tit for tat, this name versus that name, this name versus that name, all the way down the line, so we can track it. Because no, I don't want what happened to you in the past to happen again.
I appreciate that. Okay. But again, this is not a realistic figure when I'm 35% of the city's budget. I'm not really 35% of the city's budget. Some of this money is grant money or money that's donated to the department from other sources. It's not coming out the general fund. That's
Yeah, I
what
mean,
just
there's
came
any
by.
number of ways you can look at these numbers, all of these numbers, and that.
But
and
you keep
make
looking
a
at the bottom
point.
line. Well, you
You
gotta,
make a point.
pardon?
You make a point. It's not, your budget isn't probably 35% of the total budget of the city.
Okay.
If you took all of that out,
Because you could run, what happens in any set of numbers? It's how you run them. We can rerun and say, what is the total part of the general fund that was expensed? And run those numbers
That'd be
and
fine.
subtract it out.
That'd be more realistic.
You know?
That'd be
and
more realistic.
I'd be happy to run that chart, Chief,
Okay.
for everybody.
Okay.
You know, with,
At what level? Do what?
just
well, like the
percent of the
cars,
general
the
fund.
cars that are donated, those sorts of things, if you took all of that
Well,
out.
that's a great one
what
now. The last
percentage would
8
it be?
marked police units this department has received is received from Councilman Johnson from the parish. The city's never stepped up to pay for it.
But that's not in this either, because that was all in the capital fund.
It should have been an appearance bond. That keeps
Well,
disappearing.
that's-
Oh,
in
that
the
was
capital
police
fund as well.
budget? That
Pardon?
was in
The
capital-
cars and everything, that's all in the capital project fund. So this is operating and
So
grant,
really,
but
the only
the,
thing in his budget then that wouldn't come out of the city revenues would be grants.
right.
Bring over town walks for money that are donated to the city. Like I said, Walmart donates $1,000 each year for the children's toy run. So
Just
that's,
the same way that when money gets donated to the city for recreation, for senior center, those different things, that has to hit those departments also. So it's about applying whatever you do across all lines so that nobody is treated differently.
I would think that we get
We
more.
want the same principle, we want the
Wow.
same principle applied to everyone.
Well, if 19,000 and change was the only grant item, that's, I think I just figured it out, .009% of the budget. So it's not, it wouldn't move it much at all, if at all.
And for the percentage of the 17 budget that's proposed, that doesn't even have grants in it, correct, Linda?
Correct, I don't
Oh,
have
we
that
don't know if
in
we
there.
get none of it yet.
Right.
Because you can't, and until you really receive it.
Correct.
So that percentage line for 17
It's true.
represents everyone without grants, without anything. So that percentage is as plain as can be with, because it doesn't have the grants in it.
Okay.
Any other?
Councilman, you give me 3 sheets. You wanted to go over this?
What?
You just passed.
I would like to go over those.
I don't know, those were given to me and I passed them out. But,
Does everyone have a copy of those?
This is the police general fund for 15,
this was
16.
just, oh, okay. Yeah, it's an
Somebody have
analysis
questions, possibly?
Yeah, more
of the
copies.
proposed 2017 budget from Linda and your proposed budget, and then the difference between those two budgets.
Do we have this for all the other departments? Or you just did it on police?
No, we just did it, Sue started it, she did it on police, she did it on the police department, because when we got Chief's email, I think it was last night, rather late, the 2015, the 2016 budgets didn't tie to what, we don't know where they came from. The numbers aren't quite, I mean, they aren't like huge, but they aren't quite matching, they aren't actuals, they aren't the original budgets that was passed. They weren't even, like his 16 proposed budget on this 2017 packet didn't match his 2016 proposed from last year's 2016 packet. So I don't know where those numbers came from. So I feel like we're comparing apples to apricots to bananas.
And that's the problem I run into all the time, trying to find out where I'm at on a regular basis with my operating budget.
Well, can I ask you some questions
Sure.
about your budget?
Sure can.
the total salaries that you provided compared to the salaries that Linda provided, and that's with 2 new officers, and, you know, the difference would be 1 new officer in that line item, and it only goes up $13,232 from your budget. And so I don't know how you would think that you could pay for 2 additional officers. It's
An
kind of
officer's
like
rate
your
under
question about
$60,000.
the other.
Well, that's,
Because we were told to use the numbers that Linda gave us.
Which didn't have
One Linda's
which
email.
didn't have the missing gentleman.
Linda told us.
And that was the email that I sent out this
What
morning, right?
okay. We
So
had
that
two- we
number's
had 2
wrong
officers
then.
leave last
this
month.
number's wrong?
I'm.
Two
Okay.
officers left in October. One was a sergeant, one was a police officer. We hired 2 police officers. One officer that was already on the job, we had a provisional promotion to sergeant. So we have the same complement. Our numbers haven't changed in 16. It's just that we filled the positions and one got promoted to fill the one that left.
And you know, Chief, I feel your pain. You've had a lot of in and out.
And it's gonna continue.
And it's gonna continue, it's not anything new under a new event with you.
I was with an
What-
informant, this has happened.
Right, but this is, I was talking to Linda, and we might as well, I said, how can we make this easier? The staff on, is a lot less up and down in other departments than you've had, and you've got some legitimate reasons why it happened. And I said, it would be so much better if we built a budget that was even more easy to understand, because we could break it out potentially for you and say, okay, the chief, the secretary, DEA, your patrol, your detectives
jailers.
and everything, and then it says how many off, you know, it gives exactly so that you know where the budget is, everybody's on the same page saying, we're budgeted for this quantity of staff. Our ins and outs meant we came in low on our salary because we had some people leave, they didn't get filled right away, or what, you know, whatever reasons. But when we build the budget, start from the exact amount that you give us a roadmap of exactly what you want, what positions, how much they cost, and, you know, like your diagram, I'm losing the chart.
Right, it's the roadmap, and that was what happened
And
when I
so-
did the extra person. I didn't realize we were down a person, so my extra person wasn't giving an extra
We weren't
person.
down, you always didn't account for it.
Right.
It was there. Like I said, we didn't increase our personnel, all we did was replace personnel.
17 on this page. We were missing a number on the page.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, it's so difficult moving from where we were in the past, because removing a budget that was in a very hackneyed, old style, no insult to anyone, okay? To something that has more explanation, more depth for everyone. And especially for the police department, I think if we break it out better, so that if somebody's a sergeant, their pay's different than somebody who's just coming in, someone who we put through the academy, right? As opposed to someone who's been here for years with longevity, that we start plugging in a lot better for you, is what
Well,
I
that's what
think.
we've tried to do with them. I mean, with the last 3 years that I've been here, I've given out a proposed budget. One of the things they were taking out, one of the officers leaving had built up a vacation time that we owed them money. It was $20-something thousand dollars that we had to pay them.
That happened to, you know, the administration side. We got hit in 15, I want to say $40,000 something in annual leave payout. So there's discussion in the auditing world, in the CPA accounting world, you know, exactly how do you put that on the books? I've had recent discussions with Linda about doing a deferred liability, and so that everyone gets tracked. What we're moving toward right now is tracking it it was never tracked on the computer.
Okay. The
and
police
putting it on
department
the
has been
computer.
tracking it, and when Robert was here, I discussed it. It is a heck of a contingent liability.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
And he said, take a percentage of it and put it in your budget for when people leave. Recently, high turnover, and it's been historic. Officers will come on here. Our starting pay right now is a little low. Before, it might have been average in the past, but a couple of departments in the surrounding area have had sufficient, very big pay raises. They'll get post-certified, go through the academy, stay here for a year or two. Our overtime's limited, our details are limited. Our sergeant that just left went to the levy district making less pay, base pay, than what we pay. But they have the opportunity to work details. These officers are working detail like at the airport, they're making $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year in detail rates. That's where we lack it.
Right.
And same thing with the overtime. Overtime is limited.
So,
And that's why they stay here, get experience, get post-certified, and they go to another agency where they have the opportunity to make more money. They put in the hours, but at least they have the opportunity to put the hours in to make the money.
and the municipality has different restraints, correct, than the sheriff's department?
Well, we limit to Harahan, only details we work on within the city. They
But
have
also-
details without, pardon?
Also, whether it's civil service
No,
or.
our problem is we limit it to the city of Harahan, our confines of what our
Right, no,
city is.
It's very blatant.
Yeah,
It's very
so
blatant.
our details are limited and our overtime's limited.
It's very.
Where in the parish, they basically unlimited, and except at the airport, it's very unlimited.
Okay, so can I ask another one? So the difference between your 2016 proposed and the 2017 proposed for the salary line item is about $74,000. So should we add another 74 to your proposed 2017 to get the right number?
It's what,
For
59
salaries?
58, 59,000 for a police officer.
One officer in the salary line should be 34,616.
That's the
And
base.
there's a breakdown each of like Medicare, workman's comp, health insurance.
Well, then, if that's the case, then there's two in the 2017 proposed.
It's not the salary line,
But
the overall.
Tracy, do you want to come up and speak on if you want to say something, if you're saying it for the record?
Good, that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry,
What is it?
my button.
Okay, sorry.
The problem that we're having, the salary line isn't the problem, it's all the other lines in our budget that have been cut. There is room in the salary line for the police officer, but if you go through all the other lines in our salary, all the other lines have been cut in throughout the budget. So our day-to-day operation is going to suffer, and it's going to hinder what we're going to be able to do.
Well, I'd like to take an example of, let me find this if you don't mind.
If you take a look at our overtime, the services that we provide for overtime, I understand that we're going to have an extra officer, but starting right after Thanksgiving, we start our blue light. That is not going to happen next year if this is cut. And we provide that service from right after Thanksgiving through the Christmas holidays, through New Year's Eve.
So thank you, Ms. Whittle. When we're talking about the line items, one example just came up. It was the line item, I think this is gas, oil, and fuel. Line item 4112-42600. Year to date, the original budget was $45,000. Okay? Year to date, the actual spent as of through September, I think it may be even through October, I'm not sure, is $27,223. Police Department 42600. So if you take a average of the fuel cost and you add in 3 more months, there's no way you can spend an additional $23,000 on the fuel line. So that was the rationale. And what happened is that we didn't just, I think,
Well, that kind of goes what they said with the, with that whole blue light thing. You're going to have a lot more people.
We're trying to analyze it, we
Right.
don't have the figures.
You have a lot more police on the road in a month or two, so that's going to increase
Yeah.
fuel.
And gas prices, and then,
Right.
We were very fortunate.
but we also built in,
Right.
a cushion on top of, we didn't say, oh, let's just take the mean, we added a little extra and put on top of that. But at the end of the day, too, Chief, this wasn't something that was arbitrary and capricious to the police department at all. We, in order to try and get everyone up to speed to where we were and what we're projecting at year end, we looked at fuel for the fire department, for regulatory, we looked at fuel across the board, et cetera, for recreation, and did it from there. So it's not, all I'm trying to do is provide numbers. It's for the council to
that's fine. And
decide.
let me reiterate one thing. Being an elected police chief, I'm responsible for my department and my budget. And I would ask that you would leave my budget alone, and we will request the council to move the numbers around as need be. Because when you take money out of my budget, you put it into your budget. All the other departments come under, don't shake your head, all the other departments come under your service.
That's, I'm not putting it into any
Well,
line
where you putting
items
the
for
money
me.
at? Well, if you're taking the money from my budget, where's it going?
Chief, the law states any unused funds
It's not on you.
goes back, wait, I'm just stating, any unused funds goes back to the general fund. The general fund is what feeds the departments. For example, though, if you want to talk about things that affect the bottom line, I know that you're short-staffed, we're all working very hard, but we've had revenue decreases from the police department on court fines that have been dramatic drops, that we're talking about $400,000 a year.
And that's why I was bringing it up, because one of the council members met with me in the past week and had that sheet. I wish I had a copy of it. And back when when Mayor Johnson was in office, it was with $600,000 in revenue that year. But when you went to the end column, there were 25 policemen. I've got 18 today.
That was for 1 year.
Well,
The rest of-
7 officers different.
There's another year, and unfortunately,
Is it 27 officers or is 27 staff?
No, we had 20, well, it indicated 25 officers when we showed, because when it came down to the current year, it showed the 18, so I'm assuming that the number at the top was right.
And you brought that up at last meeting. How many police officers do you need to have one doing traffic? You brought that up last meeting. What was it?
I was asked about that. I could look at dedicating one on each shift to do traffic, plus still patrol. Let me back up. Well, live here for the same reason, it's a safe city.
Right.
And you look around what's going on, even though it's a small community, 2 officers, one in a fairly small city, they were ambushed and murdered, cold blood. My number one concern is these officers' safety. If you see somebody at a traffic stop, 1 or 2 cars are gonna stop there to back up with them. We've had a few occasions since I've been in office where they've had some problems. My officers come to work in one piece, they go home in one piece. They might be fatigued if they're putting 12 hours in,
Right.
but they going home unscratched.
Right. Well, my question was, like you mentioned at last meeting, you gave a specific number. How many? I think you said 2 or 3 in order to have. Yeah.
If I have 2 more officers, each platoon will have a full complement, a sergeant and 3 police officers. That'd be 4 for each shift.
Right. And that would allow for one
I have one of
traffic.
my road sergeants right now that got hurt off duty, just had surgery, so he's gonna be out for a few weeks. I've got 1 in the academy, plus everybody has
Right.
comp time or vacation time to take off. So we're not always at the full complement.
Right. Right.
And
No, I'm
another
not.
thing that was
I'm just
brought
trying to
up
get
when you're
across
talking about
just because of
tickets,
that.
there was a rumor going around that I tell my officers not to write tickets. You all can ask any one of my officers, and I preach this all the time. Number 1, your safety is my number 1 concern, and number 2, you enforce all the laws equally to everybody. Everybody. I've got family here, you stop them, they speed, write them a ticket. They do something wrong, do what you have to do.
And, and Chief, I'm going to agree with you. Safety
No,
is
but that's
number.
one of the council members brought that's a rumor that
is-
they're hearing
is-
that's
is
going out
number
there.
one.
I want to disprove that's not a valid rumor.
the safety is number one. And we still haven't grown our revenue significantly. So in order to try and get another officer and another firefighter,
We have to write more tickets to bring revenue.
No,
So
I didn't
what
say-
you just indicated.
all I'm indicating is to pin, no,
How do you write
facts
more
are the
tickets if you're
facts.
down by 7 officers?
Right.
It's
You're not
impossible.
down
We're
by-
going to go in a circle.
You're not down
Can
seven.
I read some
In
statistics?
that
Yeah,
year that
let's
they
look at some
wanted
numbers.
Almost $600,000 in revenue for the court. It indicated it was 25 officers. I'm saying today I have 18 officers.
Chief, real quick before Sue, you were mentioning that there's a projected of about $68,000 that's going to be removed from your 2016 budget.
Correct.
And those figures are coming from, that they're anticipating that if we budgeted you 15, but as of year date, you've spent 10, and they're estimating that in the last quarter, you're not going to spend this, so they're just taking that away from you.
That's what they asked.
Okay. And Mayor, I understand you made the comment that you take those funds and you put them back. I don't understand how you can take funds if there's still 3 months of expenses that are gonna go out. So if you take it away and let's go back to the gas line. Tracy mentioned the blue light. I believe y'all patrol.
Right, we have 2 extra units.
So the likeliness of
8
y'all
hours
needing
every day.
gas is gonna be more than what it
Correct,
is now.
yes.
So why would you take it away? Why don't they finish out and then adjust? I don't understand. So if you take it away, you're gonna put it back?
All I'm doing is trying to give, with professional help, to give us an idea of where we are now, where we're gonna be by December 31st.
And you can do that, but leave the money there. I don't understand how you can take it away.
If we leave, well, first of all,
Okay.
something that he said a second ago was that, we're taking 68,000 from him. We're taking 100, and if you want to use that term, taking $150,000 of expenses. We're decreasing $150,000 expenses across all departments, which goes straight to our bottom line. Having a healthy bottom line allows us to give 2 new first responders next year. If we don't decrease the funds right now, based upon current projections, we would be at a deficit at year end, and then we cannot, as of 2017, this month, next
Why
month.
would we be in a deficit at year's end?
If we leave where we are at what we are, so we would be starting, our ending fund balance would be negative $227,000. So if we take that as our starting point for 2017, and we add in
The 227 is a whole on all departments, the city as a whole, correct?
that would be the ending fund balance, right?
So you take 100 from police, and you take this from that, and you take that, so that's gonna make this 227 whole, and I think you said would be plus $5, right? Wasn't it like $5 or $7 at the end?
That was, it was
Small,
five, it was
something like that.
500 bucks
500,
positive
Right,
before. But
right.
now, after we added back the annual leave of 20, and I don't remember, 15,000 or something of vehicle expense, it's a negative 23,000.
So our 227 is even more.
No.
No. Negative 23,000, not 223,000, 23,000
So we would still be short at the end.
as of 2016. But then we look at what we project for 2017, I am giving us a net revenue of 55,000. So a 55,000 positive and a negative 23 gives us a net positive fund balance of 2017 of $32,000.
So then we wouldn't be deficit spending, and then we could add,
Right.
Well, we also wouldn't be
a personal.
potentially this 227 or this 223, the 23, excuse me, if there wouldn't have been overspending in other line items in other departments.
or for years, or for years.
If there wouldn't have been overspending in other line items in other department, this figure of the negative 227 could potentially
Let
not
me
be that
just go
much.
through that. There's been a lot of work to be done to get the deficit rid of. It's been difficult with very good people around this table here tonight to get to a point where we're almost at some breathing room and we can start adding personnel. The city really required a lot of assistance to clear out some of the past problems. And as a whole, though, what the administration and all other departments did was come in, we're projecting to come in spending less than was allocated.
As a whole.
As a whole. As a whole. And we did those things, we got to this point because of looking, whether it was at insurance, going past old LAGAP things, whether it was using depreciation, saving from default on the DEQ loan, refinancing bonds,
Mayor.
things
Okay,
that
go
have been
ahead.
neglected going back all the way to 2005. A lot of work was left on that table. And we are in a better position for having spent the money and still coming in under budget.
And Mayor, I'm not questioning that. All I'm questioning is if our figure, if we don't make these amendments, puts us at a negative 227, is that correct, Linda? I just want to make sure. But there are items that are overspent, and I'm not talking 5%, 10%, some are 100, some are 300. So potentially, if we would have lived within those means of those lines, our 227 might be 150, might be 140.
What's over 300?
I mean, if you do the percentage, like one was, I think there was a computer supply that was like 6,000, but it was 22,000. That's about 300%.
But so, there were some simple facts that
But I'm sure you can agree what I'm stating. If we're at 227 with no amendments, and we can go through lines, and we know which lines they are, we addressed them last week, and if those would have been within the means, then maybe the 227 might not be 227.
no, we would have been in a much higher deficit. We
I
would have been in a
disagree,
much higher
because if we
deficit.
give you 6,000 in supplies, but you spend 22, that's an additional 16,000 that you're asking. If you'd have lived within the 6, then maybe the 227 would be 16,000 less. Am I correct?
That makes perfect sense.
I
There are
think,
several line items that exceed.
Ms. Wheeler, Carrie,
Wait,
I'm going to tell you that I think this council should apply the same scrutiny to every single one of my line items that they do to every other department. And
And Mayor, you don't think we do that?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Saying it as a suggestion. And I can tell you, because money well spent, that deficit would nowhere near be almost gone. By using money smartly, we
But
eradicated
overspending is
it.
not using money smartly.
We didn't overspend, we came in under
It
budget.
was one-time money
Wait,
that
as a
paid
whole.
majority of that down.
No, it wasn't the majority of it, because it represents, even to this day, a smaller percent. It was less than 50%. I forget what the percent was. I believe it went down to 42 point something percent. I'd have to pull that
After
out. again.
BP and all the other stuff that brought it down.
Right,
That was
that,
me.
all the work that was left undone, all the renegotiations that we had to do, bonds.
I don't think it was left
refinance.
undone. I think it was
No, it was
worked
left
on.
People were fired.
It was, no, it was left undone. So I'm proud to say that I've talked to the legislative auditor, I've talked to higher up at elected officials in the state, and I have challenged them to find any governmental agency that had this percent of our revenue compared to our deficit and get it down in the time. There's no one who can.
Well, when you get almost a $500,000
Yeah, when you get-
added into your account, that really
Right.
gives you a shot in the arm.
And
to
many
push
other
your
people
deficit.
had much higher amounts put into their
That was a nice little
budgets
shot
also.
in the arm to
Right.
cure.
And so did
Exactly.
every other municipality and agency. Do we have any other questions, though?
For the police right now, no, but
Oh,
I do have
I'm
something
sorry,
else.
Chief, I never did get to my question.
Because I actually want to
Real
meet with the
quick, so
chief
sorry.
after this,
I'll
sometime
make it
coming
quick.
up, I want to meet with you.
I just want to make sure I have the correct figures because I was just given 3 new of this budget analyzed, and so I'm not sure where we're at. But on the proposed 2017 on your salary line, I have your total salary sheet for 2017, and what's projected to give you for 2017 does not give enough for another police officer. It's kind of running into the same thing I mentioned with Todd with fire. Now granted, Todd's line was short. Yours is going up, but I don't see where it's going up enough. So if somebody can maybe give me an explanation.
I think we just talked about that. It was because the missing officer, wasn't that it?
But there was, the missing officer, if you have two salaries and they quit, and then two people come in, the allotment for the money is still there. And then you had a sergeant that you promoted, so if you have 50,000, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
It's a wash.
It's a wash, exactly.
We went one day without even getting payroll. One guy quit, the day he quit, the next guy started. We actually hired the second guy.
Right, and then
a
that
week
sergeant,
earlier
you just
before
promoted somebody
the
else
last
up.
person.
So the allotment was always there. It was never increased.
You're looking at this one, or you're looking at the one from Linda Lewis?
Now I'm looking for the one from Linda.
Okay, the one from.
And I got
the
papers
proposed
everywhere.
budget that you're looking at, that overall budget is not going to allow us to
Hire
another
Okay.
officer. That budget is less than what our budget is.
Ms.
this
Whittle, I'm going to ask you to come up. Can you please, can you speak to, and I'm not trying to, what is your history on doing budgets and what's your background?
That is out of line. That is so out of line.
I'm not. What I'm saying is, no, what I'm trying to say is
You don't have to answer that.
fight,
Don't entertain her.
the fight,
Ms. Whittle is one of my staff. And
Wonderful
We sit
staff.
down on a regular
Right.
basis with Captain Adams, Sergeant Gleba, Captain Savoy, Ms. Whittle and myself going over the budget, plus daily operations.
What-
We've put together this budget for the last couple of years.
I
So
understand.
she's well versed on it.
But when it gets complicated, wouldn't you agree?
That's a very good
Doesn't it
question.
get complicated, Tim?
And that's why
Chief?
I assembled the
Chief-
staff that we
Chief,
go over.
doesn't it get complicated?
And I think
So
we're
at
all
the end of the
well-versed.
I
day,
think you do a fantastic job.
She
Every
does do a
question I've ever
fantastic
asked,
job.
You've always answered immediately. I don't have to wait for you to find something.
But
You always have.
I'm going to say that we have got to have people who come up with the final numbers who are going to be able to speak to the auditor and speak to the legislative auditor and account for it.
And we've done it
I
already.
have spoken to the auditors.
We have
and I
done
have
it.
spoken
And the
to
legislative auditor's been here and
auditor.
talked to Ms. Whittle.
All I'm saying is,
First back and forth
I
with
just
them
find it
there.
insulting that you're gonna.
It's very
I'm
much.
not insulting.
Yes.
I'm trying to
That was
say,
insulting. That was
What I'm
extremely
not.
insulting.
I am sorry if you viewed it that
I think
way.
it's
I
an
don't
insult.
accept your apology, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That was very rude.
Yeah.
No one said that. Okay, does anyone have any other
I want to talk
questions on the
about
budget?
this. I want to talk about this.
Well, my question about the salary never got
Yeah, exactly.
answered.
Right.
Exactly, but you can
Tracy,
say something
we'll
like
talk.
that.
It's okay.
I want to talk about revenues. I want to talk about there's a double standard, I think, here, that we scrutinize the mayor's budget
She's talking in the mic.
and we don't scrutinize the police department budget. In 2009, our revenues from tickets and court were 576,315. That was with 20 officers. These are statistics from UCR, which are numbers provided by our police department to the FBI site. In 2010, our revenues were 639,294. They didn't report the number of officers that year. In 2011, the revenues were 344,182. That was with 20 officers. In 2012, the revenues were 294,839. That was with 21 officers. In 2013, the revenues were 310,293. They didn't report the number of officers. In 2014, the revenues were 242,797. That was with 18 officers. In 2015, revenues were 184,671, and that was with 17 officers. And I know, Chief, you've said you're down five, and Councilman Hewitt said 7 officers. And I think that you're making the same mistake that you made, that you had to say in an email today, that you accidentally reported the total number of employees for your department as the number of officers.
I didn't report that. The city administration reported that.
Well, whatever.
No, it's not whatever. How is it whatever? When they gave me a list of every employee, we went over and met
Tim,
Ms.
you've
Lulu and explained that some of these employees were staff, meaning records clerks, part-time mechanic, 4 jailers, 5 sergeants, 1
Well,
captain.
you've been stating that number for 2
It
years.
hasn't changed.
Right, but
But-
you
but
stated it as though it was officers, and it's
I
numbers
never
of,
said it was all. I said the officers, the amount of officers have been the same. What Ms. Lulu put out today, what asked
that,
for
that's not
clarification.
what you've been saying, Chief. I'm sorry, you've not been saying that. You have been saying that you are down 5 officers.
I said we have less officers today than prior to me coming in. When I came in May of 14, I did an audit of my whole department. Some of the things that are brought to the attention to this council, before you were here, was majority of the officers that work patrol, all officers that work patrol work 7 12-hour shifts in a 2-week period. They were being paid for 80 hours. So we're always short shifted, meaning that somebody took off 4 hours in a 2-week period. If a jailer took off the 4 hours, that was one less call on the street, and might just leave one officer on the street at the time. The council was generous enough to pay our officers at straight time, they get paid for 84 hours, excuse me. The other thing we noticed.
And that, I think that was something that you and I worked out together in
Okay.
order to do that,
Then the
correct?
other thing we noticed that there's 13 paid holidays. In the past, the Harahan police officers were never paid for overtime, for holiday. So if an officer worked 2 holidays and they got time and a half comp time, they got 3 days off. And I explained to the council, well, when they take the time off, I said, well, bring somebody in. I don't have the overtime to bring them in. So the council approved that why officers that work overtime on holidays, they get paid for it.
And that was the budget that I proposed, that we worked out as well, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to finish with this.
Go ahead.
From 2010 to present, our revenues are down 71%.
Okay.
And we're not down 5 officers.
We're down, yes, we are. We left.
No, we're not. We're not down 5
There, I just did
officers.
another assessment of about 6 years ago, that by that assessment, when we add in 1 officer, that we will be 1 officer down compared to that. There was 28, there was, 6 years ago, there were 28, well, wait, hold on. 28 total personnel, plus 2 DEA agents, plus a mechanic, plus a maintenance person. That's what's the numbers. That's why I said that it's very difficult to go back and assess and pull out all those numbers and really figure out, because the sand's moving underneath everyone's feet because of the coming and the going. And that's why I would like to create it so that it's much simpler to understand and track from here on out.
I'll reiterate one more time, my officer's safety is my #1 concern. And what you're saying is unless they produce revenue by writing tickets,
I'm not
what
saying
what you're suggesting? You're just saying the revenue's down, how much percent, what percentage?
I'm just stating a fact.
But you're saying that we're not writing tickets. Doesn't
Well,
mean they're
you're
not
not.
out there patrolling, they making arrests, and they making stops, and they answering calls for the public. You go in the surrounding area, New Orleans, 4 hours, 3 hours to answer a call
Well,
for
Tim,
somebody
what's
get robbed.
different? What's different between now and 2010? That
I
they're
didn't know, I
down?
wasn't here, I wasn't the police chief in 2010. I've been as transparent as possible. Y'all can go on our Facebook page every week, see the amount of arrests. Every month I give you a report of how many cases or how many incidents we handled. I don't know what was done in the past. I
Well-
can tell you what's going on at present. Do I think there's a big change in crime in the past? Probably not. But I will tell you this, anytime somebody calls 911 or they call a police station, a Harahan police officer responds and handles it appropriately. We don't cook the books, as some people say. If it's a crime, we report it.
Well, let me ask you this. You have 6 full-time desk duty cops, policemen, sorry.
No, I got 4
6.
jailers. 4.
You
One
have 2
each shift.
DEA agents, you have 2 sergeants, and you have 2
The 2 DEA agents don't even,
detectives.
they assigned to DEA. Okay,
And we pay for them.
yes, we do.
And my question is and I know you've said this over and over, and I believe you, that the safety of your officers is paramount.
Correct.
Wouldn't it behoove the department to take one of those DEA agents and replace them with a patrol officer if you're short
That's your
manpower?
option.
That's not my option.
You all control the budget.
Well, you as the head of the department could make that change
Or recommendation.
or recommendation. It just seems in a city the size of Harahan with our crime stats, that do we really need 6 full-time desk duty
They're
officers?
not 6, these 2 DEA agents are making.
Well, then why are we paying for them?
Wait.
What do they provide for the city?
They bring in asset forfeiture money.
How much
What-
did they bring in this year?
I don't have the exact
Nothing.
figure.
They brought in nothing.
Pardon?
They didn't bring in anything.
They have stuff pending that is in litigation.
There's
What
no
happened?
guarantee
Wait,
that
wait,
that's
wait,
going to
wait, wait,
come
time
in.
out,
There's
time
no
out, time
guarantee.
out. You know, you want to keep beating this thing. Earlier this year, the President of the United States curtailed asset forfeiture. And around the country, local police officers, local sheriff's office, and state police work in different DEA agents' offices around the country. And they share in part of the forfeiture that has come in. If they seize money, they seize property, it's sold, they get a percentage. So for a good while early this year, the president stopped it. If all of these agencies, and it would have included us too, would have pulled these agents away from DEA, they wouldn't have the manpower to operate. So they reconsidered. So the money's back in the pipeline. We've been told that it's being processed. It doesn't happen overnight. So there are monies coming in. I think a few came in early this year, but nothing substantial.
But there's still nothing to prevent them from going on the street then.
Yes, there is.
They're commissioned officers.
They're not commit.
They're not. They're not Harahan, they're not Harahan
Special-
policemen.
They're not commissioned Harahan policemen, or they special agents.
So they're not Harahan policemen. Do you include them in your numbers? Like when you say you have 18 officers,
No.
2 of them?
No. They're
not included.
listed separately in our budget.
Now, just to let everyone know, we are supposed to have addressed the council before we move on to our regular meeting. Does anyone mind if we do address the council?
I have more questions, real quick.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my question comes up with this page that I asked you to blow up for me today because I was trying to read it in small print and I couldn't really truly see the numbers, and now that I have it blown up, the Capital Projects Fund, why are we trying to transfer in a lot less than what we're supposed to? The original was going to be ending fund balance 663,482. Now proposed capital projects fund ending budget is going down to 381,553.
What page are you on?
I'm on this sheet right
Can you
here.
show us, where are you looking on what right now?
Right there, capital.
It was part of your packet.
The first page.
Yeah, it's first page in the packet,
blew
but
it
the
up.
words are real small.
Okay, hold on. So the ending fund balance for the capital project fund originally was projected to be $653,000, right?
Well, on this page right here, it says 663,482. Then it says proposed is 381,553 with a difference of 281,929.
Oh, thank you.
Normally, we bring in from video poker roughly around $320,000, and this is going proposed transfer in to 10,000.
I don't.
We're at 33,000 more usually.
Right. Barely, I want to meet with them privately.
I can't get the temperature right in here.
Well, if you look at the capital project fund page itself,
This is for the proposed 7.
for the proposed 16, it shows what the difference is. Part of that ending fund balance,
What page?
What page is that?
20, huh?
I don't know.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, because on this one, on this paper that I received in the email, it has proposed budget 2016 to be 672,914. But on this page, it says 381,553.
Yeah, I see that. I don't,
It is
I don't know if that
capital.
381 is right.
I have capital.
This page
Yeah.
is, that's just a helpful,
Right, right.
it wasn't helpful, but,
Right, wasn't too helpful right now, right.
There is another page 20.
page 20 on the 2016 packet.
Right. Yeah, that might have been where the accident came in from.
Yeah,
Because it was 10,000 was the amendment, and you must just actually transpose just the 10,000 amendment to that, huh?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 'Cause
So it should be the 672,914.
Yes.
That's definitely it.
Right.
Okay.
Although, on, on page 20, though, I do see an error underneath grant expense, line 32, that 12,460 actually belongs to 2017, not 16.
Line-
We have a line through it.
Yeah, it's already got a
but
line through
it's
it.
still in the total.
Okay, and I got one more question
Oh.
for you while we're on that also. It's probably just a number thing, you said don't really go by this, but it says 663,482 on this one, but it says 653,481 on that one.
Because it's rounding, because it's pulling the formulas, and in one spreadsheet, it has it all as decimals in there, but then when you truncate it,
Okay, so it knocks out numbers?
Yeah, it
'Cause
knocks
it's-
out the number a
It
little
was
bit.
663 compared to 653?
660.
That's a
It's
10,000.
exactly a $10,000.
That's
That's the 10,000, okay. I'll go back there and double check the pulling.
So we'll have to,
Okay, that's fine. You get back with me on that. That's no
Mm-hmm.
problem.
That was a good catch.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm sure I have plenty more. Like I said, I want to meet with Chief Walker and also Chief St. Cyr. I want to meet with both of y'all, and also I would like to meet with the mayor and Linda if we can meet up sometime to try and go over a couple things. Because I understand we're trying to save, but when 2 or 3 years, we've been telling the police and we've been telling the fire, we're going to get you help, we're going to get you help, and it's not happening. So we're going to have to look possibly cutting something else. I mean, they need help. We need help as a city to be safe, so.
Can we move to address the council now on the budget hearing?
On the budget hearing, yes.
Would anyone like to address the council?
This is just on the budget.
It's only on the budget,
On the budget
right?
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have another meeting right after
Thank
this.
you. If there's no one wishing to address the council right now, is there a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have five yeas, 0 nays. The budget hearing is adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute recess before starting. The special City Council meeting for November 3rd, 2016 is called to order at 7:32 p.m. Madam Clerk, the pledge, please.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
All right. Councilman Bodier. Councilman Benton.
Present.
Councilman Hewitt.
Present.
Councilman Johnston. Councilman Wheeler.
Present.
Mayor Maselli.
Present.
Police Chief Walker. Fire Chief St. Cyr. City CPA Linda Lulu. City Attorney Gilbert Burris is absent, and City Clerk Nicole Lee is present.
Especially in light of the recent budget hearings and what's in the news and talking about public safety, I think I'd like to ask everybody to have a moment of silence about the 2 fallen soldiers in Iowa. And thank you. I'd also like to thank our first responders, our police department, for creating a wonderful Halloween atmosphere. I think it went off pretty well during Halloween. I think everyone had fun in their neighborhoods. Finally, recently we just during break had a discussion with Miss Lulu, and being that Chief St. Cyr would like to meet with Miss Lulu, she has obligations of an audit that she's doing. Ms. Lulu, if you just want to speak to it, in order to get things ready for, before next week, it would be
Yeah.
quite difficult to meet.
Yeah, Chief Todd wants to meet, Craig wants to meet, I'm assuming somebody else might want to meet. Next week can't do it, and then we're supposed to be meeting on Thursday to make some kind of decisions. Then the week after that, I'm out of town.
Okay.
So I'm thinking we need to push this back into December. We can have our meetings in a couple of weeks, but go to our voting in December.
So will we go to the regularly scheduled meeting in December, or, I mean,
Well,
I'm
that
not one for
pushes-
doing this during special meetings, like I said last time.
But it does push us
Right.
right in the holidays.
Do we know the exact time that we have to have voted on in December? Like,
It needs to be done
because-
by December 31st.
15, well, it's supposed to be
15
past 15 days, I believe, before
year
the end
ends.
of the year.
Okay, so the next December meeting should be the
Falls on the
15th.
15th.
So that should,
Mhm.
so that
Does it
should be.
really? That would
yeah.
be a good, it
Yeah,
falls on the
that's funny.
15th.
So we
So
keep
we'll
our
just
regular
keep-
November at the
Well,
regular
the
time.
problem,
Get you numbers really close.
Right.
but if you need to speak with her,
Right.
she's just not going to.
On our meeting on the 15th was something totally unrelated to the budget.
Okay.
either. But as far as the numbers for what we have now, I can get you really.
Right,
in the
right.
neighborhood.
Now, the other thing
But, I mean, I know y'all had other issues.
before the
Right.
council is that we called the meeting for next week. But if we want, we can make that the regular meeting and put all items on the agenda. Because remember, Mr. Burris and Ms. Lulu will not be here the third week of November.
Right. Well,
And
if we-
I think that would be a big disadvantage for us.
I think personally, if we're not going to be dealing with the budget at all, I think we should just have it at the regular time, which is the 17th.
If we're not going to deal with the budget at
Right,
all.
right.
If we will not have the city attorney present
Right.
at that meeting
Right.
also.
Right.
Is that so we would have to have,
We do have to remember that the red flex speed camera ordinance will come up, and so if we don't have Gilbert Burris here, who drafted the ordinance,
Gotcha.
that may be an issue.
I'll see for the holiday and express.
Right.
Give you all the answers you need in Thursday.
so the discussion is, we could keep the regular meeting for next week, make the special city council meeting the regular meeting.
Right.
Or the other option is to hold our regular meeting on the 17th, cancel a special city council meeting next week. And
The only thing with that is that being
We-
if it's next Thursday as a regular meeting, we have until tomorrow to get anything in, and that's real short notice.
well, but that's why I posed it the
Right.
last time we met, so that those things could be considered. So the discussion is up for the council. We could also just put everything on the December meeting and make a motion on the vote for those items on the December meeting. You know, that way, City Attorney Burris is here for.
Well, that's Dana's
the
ordinance that she's
automated-
bringing up, so. I
Well,
mean,
no,
it's-
for the automated traffic.
Right. That was your ordinance,
Enforcement.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be whatever you feel comfortable
Well,
with.
if we move it to the 10th and keep the ordinance up for introduction on that day,
Is it,
it was pretty much said already that we're not adopting the budget on that day because there's
Right.
meetings that needs to be held. So we could always just defer on the 10th
Right.
to the December meeting about the
Correct.
budget, but still keep Red Flex on the 10th.
But then you,
That's
Since
what
you
you
already
prefer.
have arrangements for him to be
Yeah,
here.
he'll be here on the 9th to educate everybody, and he's present to come on the 10th to do a presentation for the city and the citizens.
so do I have a motion then to move the regular city council meeting off of the 17th to replace it at the 10th? Motion. I have a motion by Councilman Hewitt, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. So the regular city council meeting will be held next week on Thursday, the 10th. And help me, what time did we?
6 p.m. y'all had.
6:30
6:30 p.m. I thought it
6:30.
was 6:30 p.m. Yes, ma'am.
6:30? Yes.
Okay.
Why not
And
keep it the regular time like we are tonight?
Yeah,
it's already been
oh, it's already been
advertised.
advertised.
so-
It has not been
confusing
advertised.
everyone.
It has not.
No, ma'am.
Well, can we
Okay.
bump it to the regular time of
Should be
7:30?
Do I have
regular
a-
time.
I'm going to advertise tomorrow, so.
Okay.
I'll motion
So-
for 7:30.
I have a motion
Second.
to have the regular city council meeting on the 10th, then at 7:30 PM on November 10th by Councilman Wheeler, seconded by Councilman Hewitt. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great.
I have a question. Are we going to have to meet in the beginning of December before the 15th to go through
Yeah.
Yes.
again? I mean, so
Oh,
we-
no, to go through in a public hearing? I don't think
Right.
so.
No, I don't think.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
well, I was just throwing out there and
Yeah.
asking.
Linda,
No,
do
just-
we send you, like we did last year, email, any changes or edits that we are asking for?
That would be great.
So that's done prior to when it comes forward in December?
Actually, it would be done the same way. The mayor presents a budget, and any budget amendment you would bring up from the floor, but we can have it all ready for you
Yeah,
that's
in
good.
writing, so that it
So we
makes
have
it
to
easy
December
that you can
15th.
switch in
Yeah,
Maybe a week.
please.
Right, you always ask to know about it beforehand, so we
Right.
don't catch you off guard on the floor. So we'll send it to you ahead of time through email, and then we'll be prepared for those amendments to be made that night.
Right, which we need the, for 16, if you so deem, and 17. At the bare minimum for 16, we need to adopt the 3 sewer funds because we have 0 budget right now. So the bare minimum, y'all have got to do that, or that's a huge audit finding.
By when?
Well, December
When it
15th.
comes
to the- December, yeah,
So if
okay,
you do
right.
nothing else for 2016,
Yeah.
you need to adopt those 3.
Gotcha.
All right, so that was, glad we got that business underway. We will now have address the council. I didn't.
Ordinances for introduction are first.
Oh,
that's all right. No.
Sorry,
All right, you
skip
ready?
the spot.
Yeah, proposed ordinance number
I thought we did address the council.
2016.
and then- Oh,
We have
okay.
it twice on a regular.
No,
agenda.
no,
We
we'll
really
do
put
it.
it
You're right. You're
beginning
right.
or
It's a
after.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, that's right. Proposed ordinance number 2016-21, an ordinance amending the annual budget of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2016 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. And proposed ordinance number 2016-22, an ordinance adopting the annual budget of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
Thank you. The rules for the special as opposed to the regular. And thank you for keeping that straight. We will now address the council. Anyone from the public who would like to come up and address the council, please remember that you have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, please. And I'm trying to find my little timer.
Evelyn Ream.
Okay.
You guys know my name so good now.
Okay,
huh?
you're on.
You're ready for me not to come. Okay, I'm very excited that last night there was a regulatory meeting, and it was 4 that were in favor of planning and zoning. Thank you. So that was very exciting. But
You want to tell them in favor of?
the hours of operation restricted. But I'm really kind of confused. Last night, I don't remember which one it was, and it doesn't matter. One of the regulatory guys said that the mayor told him that last night was the last night of the trucks running. So we're really excited. That's like, wow.
No, I told Mr. Mara, and he called me, Dwayne Mara, and I said, I was told by the Reams that it was coming to an end soon. I don't know if it was the next couple of days, if it's already come to an end, because we had talked, and remember?
Okay,
And you
in a
said-
meet- in a
thought- right,
meeting.
and you thought it was going to be coming to end soon?
Okay. Well, I thought, that he said, the
Yeah.
mayor said that last night. So to sound like that's coming from the mayor, we took
No,
that down
I
in stone,
told
you
him
know?
What you told me about what was going on, and I made that.
So what we did was we went up there tonight, and as the truck drivers were coming down, we said, "Excuse me," and we weren't laying across the road. We said, "Excuse me, are you guys like finished tonight?" And he said, "Oh no, it's probably the end of December."
Oh, okay.
Oh my. And so we said, let's verify it. So we had a couple come by. That's upsetting. So I'm just going to ask you guys, we had our first reading. I'm just asking you guys, I know, Sue, that you put in the first one, trying to get the hours of operation. It didn't make it for everybody knows whatever reasons. We need this. This is bad.
And this will be on next week's agenda.
So, whatever that y'all can do to get this moving, it's just been a long road and it's horrible. So, and it's disappointing to think that this was last night, it was going to be over and go up there and go, oh my gosh, they're still here. But I thank the Lord that we nicely said, have a nice day, So we're pretty, we need this. I ask every one of you to please give us a vote. Every one of you. We've been here long enough, you know that. We haven't screamed and hollered. Except one time I got not allowed at the last meeting, I apologize. And we haven't laid across the road. We try to keep the residents calm when they're upset about it. We try to be patient because Tim Walker can't afford any police officers to come over here and hold up a microphone. He just can't. There's crime. And so we understand. And so please, I'm asking every one of you, please give us your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ream. Mayor, since it's already gone to first reading, can we just bring this up from the floor tonight and vote on it?
I did speak to Gilbert Burris. It was advertised,
Right.
not for this meeting, but it was advertised.
The only reason why I didn't want to bring up.
What did Mr. Beers say?
He said that he's all for, he was for voting for it. If anybody needed to call him
So we can call it
tonight,
up from the floor.
if you wanted to
The
call,
only
we could.
reason I didn't want to was because Ms. Spears isn't here, and at the meeting last night, they suggested that we take certain things out to
Okay.
label all
That's good, I know
business,
that.
not pinpoint one business.
Well, let's do it.
So I wanted to talk to him about, see how it should be worded.
Oh.
But
He said that he didn't catch him. I don't know.
I'm just, why would we make you guys wait till next Thursday if we could bring it to a vote tonight?
Does anybody have a cell number? He said to call him in a cell if you need him. He said that to me today.
Let's, do you want to
Do we
take a
call for a
recess and
recess?
call him?
sure.
We'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. The special city council meeting is now reconvened, and we are in the middle of address the council. Mr. Ream, I believe you wanted to come and address the council.
John Ream, 3 Ren Pass. The ordinance that we were bringing up, one of the biggest things in there is that it's a lot easier to stop somebody from starting a process that violates the laws or violates the decency than it is to let them start doing it and then try to stop them. So this is very important, and I know all of y'all believe that, also. But also the protection of the citizens of Harahan is at stake here too with the budget. And the police officers and the fire department need to be supported as best as possible. And it's hard when you've got to go by a budget, but some things need to fall off the budget. But the police department and the fire department don't need to have that happen. So as a citizen of Harahan, we depend on you guys to keep us safe, and by fire and by crime, that they watch over us, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate y'all too, and work together and just balance this budget, get whatever has to be done. I know it's all new now because of the audit and everything. They do things differently and all, and it's going to take a lot of work, and I appreciate all of y'all working together on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will use the mic. Please, y'all, use your
Please
mics.
state your name and address, please.
Judy Johnson,
You should be
815 Oak
resting your
Avenue for the
voice.
last 50-something years. The last meeting, y'all generously gave Oak Avenue another stop sign. We now have stop signs on 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. 6 stop signs in 1 mile. How many stop signs do you have on River Road? Anybody?
None.
None. Before you talk cameras, put some stop signs up. I guarantee it'll slow them down.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. That's a very good idea. We will now address the council, and Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Wheeler, seconded by
Motion.
Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. We are adjourned, and see you
Hereby.
next week. And thank you, everyone.